Hello, welcome to RAVE. My name is Eric Smith. I'm the owner and president of Redwood Art Group. With me is Hannah Smith, our social media manager, and Linda Mariano, our marketing director. We're so happy to have you joining us here on our third evening, our third session of RAVE. We had a great time in yesterday's session, and I think today's session is going to be just as captivating. So over the past couple days, we've had over 1,000 viewers watching, participating, telling us where they're from, getting educated, and meeting some new artists. Tonight, we're focusing on North America. We've got artists from the United States, Canada, and Mexico. First, a toast. Anna, you and I, Linda.
Cheers.
And thank you for Pommery Champagne for sponsoring our event.
And the video you all just watched was a sneak peek into the incredible art installations filmed throughout Maison Pommery in Champagne, France. We are so pleased to have them as a sponsor once again.
Every time I watch that video, it makes me want to travel again.
Me too.
I want to go over to Pommery and visit there. Now that they're one of our sponsors, I think
go.
Let's
go, yeah.
And they do a lot of work with contemporary art to pay homage to Madame Pommery and stay faithful to the memory because she was very much into art. So.
And make sure once RAVE is over that you check out the sponsors tab where you will learn more about Pommery and all their amazing art and everything they do.
So let's talk about tonight's event. What an amazing lineup.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be speaking with
a salsa dancer,
an artist with ties to Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera,
a dynamic painting duo.
And we're not going to be speaking to, but we're going to be talking about Bugs Bunny, the Roadrunner, and Wile E. Coyote with Craig Cosson, who's the grandson of Chuck Jones, the creator. I should mention that Chuck won 4 Academy Awards. Pretty impressive.
That's impressive.
Let me fill you in on the concept of RAVE. Our live event business, which most of you know us from, is furloughed, tucked under the covers, put away for a bit. We haven't done a show since December of 2019. And we wanted to, keep our community together and figure out a way to continue educating collectors, keeping our artists and our galleries together, and maybe sell a little bit of art along the way. We have sold some art over the last couple of days on RAVE. RAVE stands for Redwood Art Group Virtual Event. And 1,000 plus viewers is pretty good. We have 40,000 people through our Miami shows, but we're not going to compare with that. But, it's still a good way to keep everybody together.
For sure.
And we are coming to you tonight live from beautiful, sunny Palm Desert, California. But more importantly, we want to know where you guys are tuning in from. So make sure to utilize that chat box to the right side of your screen, and you can write questions, make comments, let us know if you're 3 for 3 attending all our RAVE events this week, and feel free to, ask those questions, and then we might answer a few. And we will also be posting the artist's booth link once we introduce everyone. But if you want to check out their work while listening to RAVE, make sure you open it in a brand new tab so you can still listen to us, you don't lose us, and you can shop their work and take a listen and get to know them better.
Yeah, and there's a guest book on each page. So as you look through an artist's work and read about them, you can go down to the bottom if you're interested in any of their work, or just to meet them, or drop your email and get on their mailing lists, whatever. When you buy from anything you purchase over the next 30 days, we ship freight free. So within the United States. So keep that in mind.
So sit back, grab a cocktail or drink of choice, and enjoy the next hour or so.
So Hannah and I are going to take a little break, and Linda is going to bring in Susana Parado Swap from Vanguard Culture. We'll be back.
So for those of you that are in the San Diego area, you probably know Susana, or at least you know her organization, Vanguard Culture, and the amazing things they accomplish. Laura, let's give everyone a little insight into what Vanguard Culture is all about and play their video. So I can't wait until I can get to another Vanguard Culture event. So let's bring in Susanna. There you are. And you want to take
Hi
yourself
there.
off mute? Welcome.
Yeah. Hi, good to see you.
Good, great to see you. Thanks for being here. Susanna is Vanguard Culture's founder and executive director, and really an innovator who brings the whole creative community together in so many ways. So from the video, it's easy to see how far-reaching and inclusive you've become. Tell us about Vanguard Culture and how you created it.
Yeah, we started our organization in 2012. You know, one of the things that tends to happen in most cities is that people sort of live in their little bubble of influence, and so theater people hang out with theater people, and film with film, and visual arts with visual arts, and it's really rare when a cross industry sort of experience happens. So my entire intention was to create this virtual space where film people could be inspired by theater people, and theater people by visual arts people, and culinary arts people by dance people. And so what we've done is just brought all these different industries together in a platform that allows them to know what one another are doing. And it's been quite a ride. We started with a 1,000 or so following that contacts that I happen to have in the professional industries. And it's grown to over 15,000 subscribers. We're getting 8 to 9 visits a month on our website. We were featured on the National Geographic Channel, and we've won 11. I know. And we've won 11 awards for excellence in journalism. So it's been an incredible ride since, and I'm very proud of where we are so far.
And you absolutely should be. But how has Vanguard Culture been impacted by the pandemic?
Yeah, what, as you saw in the video, the three things that we do is the arts journalism, so coverage of San Diego's arts community. We do behind the scenes tours of art studios and art talks. We also do professional development for creatives to help them have a business mind about their practice, to teach them how to thrive. Nobody really teaches you that in art school, like how to actually make money doing this. And then we have our cultural events. And so we have this entire season planned. Of course, everything had to be canceled, the in-person events, and we focus primarily on the professional development for creatives because, as you know, creatives were hit so hard during the pandemic, and this was the time to step up. So we actually hosted 16 professional development events in 8 months. It was crazy.
Wow. I didn't realize there was that many.
Yeah. And another thing that we've done is our arts journalism now does not only cover local events, but it actually covers national and international. Since everyone's offering virtual events, we're highlighting all of those happenings with a couple of local and a couple of national or international happenings each week. So we have a weekly newsletter where you can subscribe to cultural happenings. And we always focus on the vanguard, on the people that are doing cool, interesting, underground, innovative work.
That's terrific. Well, and I know you've got a new program for 2021 that sounds so exciting. The History of Joy. We can all use some joy these days. And we're going to be part of the Women X segment, which is coming up in the third quarter.
That's
But
right.
I think it starts soon. And I know our audience would love to hear more. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the history of joy, after an entire year of just professional development, it was time to create art for art's sake and bring a little bit of beauty and joy to the world. What we do well is bring creatives from a variety of different industries and encourage them to work together or to be inspired by a similar theme and create as a result. Cross-industry collaboration. What we did is we commissioned award-winning poet laureate nominee Gil Sotu. He's a 3-time TEDx speaker, multi-award-winning spoken word artist, to write a 4-part cinematic series of performances that are inspired by real life stories of struggle and beauty and triumph. Each one of those 25-minute segments is actually going to be accompanied by creative interpretations of each of the themes by some of our region's most innovative organizations like you all, but also in dance and theater and puppetry and opera and visual arts. The series is broken down into 4 parts and will be released quarterly. So the first one is March 25th, coming right around the corner. That focus is social justice. The second one is Generations and Sacred Rituals in June. Women X is in September 23rd. And Our Earth is in November, on November 18th. And so the entire series actually includes these 8 pillars of joy that are outlined in the Book of Joy by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu. So along the journey, you actually get to learn a little bit about how to implement joy into your life, in addition to being entertained.
It sounds so great. I can't wait for the first segment. So,
Thank you.
You have some really amazing board members, and one of them, Kai Essery, we actually met her in yesterday's session because she's the curator for the San Diego Art Prize, and I know she serves on your board. And between the two of you, you pulled off a real coup, in my opinion. You do these wonderful art shop talks. And for us, you got an interview with the Delatorre brothers. Oh my goodness. How in the world did you do that? They are so sought after. They're so busy and so in demand, and their art is so iconic. Tell us how you were able to pull that one off.
Well, the Delatorre brothers, we have some real talent in San Diego, and they are one of those people. They are we're so blessed that they actually live here in this region. They actually live on both sides of the border. So they have their studio, they have a studio on both sides of the border, one in the Valle de Guadalupe in Baja, and one here in San Diego. I've known them for about 10 years, actually, when I worked for the Airport Authority, and we commissioned them for a public art installation in Terminal 2 East. There are these beautiful puzzle pieces that sort of glow. They're glass artists and mixed media artists, and you look at them from afar and you think, oh, these beautiful glowing, puzzle pieces, how pretty. And then you go up to them and there's like these layer upon layer of weird, quirky found objects mixed in there, like lucha libre mask mixed with a Russian banknote mixed with a little crying baby with a finger in his thumb in his mouth or something. So but they incorporate this mixed media style. We got a chance to go down to the Valle, or she got a chance to go down to the Valle de Guadalupe and interview him. I believe we actually introduced them, and now they're actually fianced. So that was the in that we got to we actually got to ask her, would you do us the favor? But they're quite sought after, as you mentioned. They have this they've mixed the religious iconography with the German expressionism and pre-Columbian art, but they will be the opening exhibitions for the new Smithsonian Museum of the American Latino and the new Cheech Marin Center for Chicano Art. So they are very busy right now create content for those 2 massive spaces.
Well, and in the art shop, they're also creating a major installation for the for California's capital in Sacramento. So yeah, so it was the video is terrific. And at the end of today's live stream session, everyone wants to be sure to stay and watch the interview that Kai did with the brothers. I think you're going to be amazed. It's really mind blowing. And you'll also want to go over to Vanguard Culture's sponsor page because there you'll also be able to see Susanna's art shop talk with Julia San Romain.
Yeah. So Julia San Roman is, she's a California artist, but she's born in Madrid, Spain. She recently began working as a medical interpreter for the workers' compensation system and discovered that there are dozens and dozens of people in this system who have accumulated hundreds of paid time off, but they don't feel comfortable or they feel nervous to actually take time off. They think they're going to get fired. You know, these are immigrant, communities. And I love that she calls them the seeds, the fasteners, the wheels, the gears of our society. And she says, by taking care of the basics, they nurture it. And I just find that so beautiful and compelling. But you'll see that each artwork is labeled 250 hours, 150 hours, and that's the amount of paid time off they have that they will not take to heal. So it's a beautiful story.
I love how she brought that in to her artwork. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you so much for being with us. And we'll see you at Art San Diego in October. Yes. And next month for RAVE New York, your national and international prowess will come to us again for RAVE New York.
So we're very excited about it.
And Hannah and Eric, back to you. I think we're going to go see Bugs Bunny or something like that, right?
I think we are.
Next up is Craig Cosson. Craig's the grandson of Chuck Jones, and he's the president of Chuck Jones Art Group in Costa Mesa, California. Welcome, Craig. You're on mute. There you go. Oh. Craig, unmute yourself. There we go.
And unmute. There it is. How's that?
We can't see.
Is that better?
So turn your video
and now turn on
too.
the video.
Well, and hey, look at that. All of a sudden, everything blew up on me. I am technically challenged, so that's all right. How's that? Is this better?
Much better.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. I like that you got Felix the cat behind you too. So, you know, it's kind of a kinship going on here. So
I actually, I think what did I do? I had a couple Keith Haring pieces that I traded for this a long time ago, and it was a good trade. I like Ronnie Cutrone's. So
well, good
Craig,
to see you guys.
Good to see you.
You too.
So my first question for you tonight is, so what was it like growing up with a genius like Chuck Jones?
You know, it's a good question. You know, I got almost 40 years with him, and which was pretty amazing. You know, as a child, there are certain moments that you remember that make an impact. One was when I was 3, he won an Academy Award. I think, as you mentioned before, that he's won his works have won 4 Academy Awards, but the first one that he was actually able to go up and accept in 1966 for The Dot and the Line, and I just remember being 3, playing on the ground, seeing a black and white television, which obviously was what everybody had at that point. And my mom started jumping up in the room and to look up and see her excited beehive hairdo, perfect for 1966, looking over at the television on the rack in the living room. And there Chuck is with this sort of, not a big smile, but a smile, coming down to accept that Academy Award. Don Knotts and Elke Summers presented it to him in 1966. So that is sort of the farthest memory, but you know, he had a knack of making you feel special. And so answering that question quickly, when I learned to swim, the day that I was probably 5 or 5.5 years old. He jumped in the pool fully clothed. I mean, just out of the blue, jumped in, no impetus. There was no plan. It just happened. You know, it's those types of things that I think, in my mind, differentiated him from other people. And he lived very much in the moment. And I think that's probably the gift that many phenomenal artists have, is that they can live in the moment. And I think that's how they express themselves through the works of art that they do.
Absolutely. You know, I was walking down El Paseo the other day in the desert and saw a giant pop-up gallery that you guys have here. The collection is just extremely extensive. So can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we have 4 galleries. Chuck Jones Galleries, we're now in our, 30th year. That's kind of frightening. This is our 30th year with the Chuck Jones Gallery, but we got one in San Diego. So celebrating San Diego down here. We've been in San Diego for 25 years. We're currently in Little Italy. We've got Santa Fe, New Mexico here in Orange County. And then we've been doing pop-ups for about the last 5 years. And this is the 4th time that we've come out to Palm Desert. And so I'm glad you got into it. The actual space changes, but the Gardens at El Paseo is where we end up all the time. And so actually I'm heading out there on Tuesday to install a huge virtual kiosk for the virtual gallery. So that's sort of our 5th gallery that we're creating, is this virtual experience, so that, you know, I'm a computer engineer by training. So the idea of having an infinite gallery that I don't have to pay rent for is such a great thing in my mind. So, you know, there's nothing that equates to experiencing artwork in person, but the idea of being able to experience more of it is I've enjoyed developing this sort of opportunity. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. You got to see it before I did. So I mean, I'm glad you got out there. But yeah, we'll be out there through the first weekend in April, and if anybody has an opportunity to stop by, we'll welcome you with open arms for sure, and masks, of course.
Of course.
That's one of the differences of walking into your gallery and walking into a ultra contemporary gallery, is everybody can relate to like almost every piece in the gallery. Like, oh, I remember this cartoon, or I remember this character, or there's Marvin the Martian, or Wile E. Coyote, or the Roadrunner, or whoever, right? I mean,
I think that is something that Chuck said, and you know, I mean, Chuck's work he was exhibited at MoMA. He's exhibited, you know, the Smithsonian. He had a touring exhibition, you know, from 13 to 17, you know, around the country with the Smithsonian. And, you know, he's a traditional fine artist. He is serious about his work, but people asked him, well, what is it, you know, why would somebody collect this? And I've seen in interviews, why would they do that? And he said, it's kind of like why do you have a picture of your uncle or your aunt or your cousin or your child on your wall? It's like an old friend. And he said, so, you know, if you don't, they maybe look beautiful, and he could paint. I mean, you see some of his paintings, he could paint. But he said, if you don't know these characters, then there's no reason to put them on your wall. But if you have that memory, like you just said, it's sort of this connection between Chuck, who created many of these characters, like Roadrunner and Coyote and Marvin Martian, and one of the fathers of Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, that you get connected with the character, your memories, maybe the things that bring back you and your family together watching the cartoons, along with the creator of these characters and the creator of the artwork. So sort of that joining together in this great symphony. And if you walk into one of our galleries, and it's not just Chuck, I mean, we've got Disney, and we've got Peanuts, and we've got Dr. Seuss, and we've got Fabio Napoleone, but the idea is to make you smile. And hopefully when you walked into our gallery, it made you smile, because that's, you know, some people, some make you think deeply, which I love that sort of art. And I collect a number of different artists, but the idea of bringing, as you said in the last segment, bringing joy to your life every day, that's something that I think was most important to Chuck. That's why he made films. He made them for himself, but he hoped that if he enjoyed them, other people would enjoy them. The same thing with his artwork. And so people seem to enjoy it well, now it's been 42 years his artwork's been out in galleries throughout the world.
Yeah. Well, that was a good summary on your part. I'll give you one more question. It'll take a 30-second answer. So how's your tennis game?
We're going to find out exactly how my tennis game. I played against a semi-pro player last night. I discovered that I'm not that good. Bugs Bunny was a much better tennis player than I am. Chuck did a limited edition of Bugs Bunny playing Daffy Duck tennis, and you can imagine who won that battle.
Great.
Well, good to see you, Craig. And I
always good to see you guys.
Together.
Thanks for continuing to do what you're doing here.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye-bye.
So now we're going to go to fly down south to Mexico.
We are.
How's that James Taylor song? Mexico. And we're going to meet with Angela Gonzalez, who's an abstract artist. Bring in Angela. Hi, Angela. Angela.
You're muted.
You're muted. You know what? Cheers to you muting yourself.
Cheers.
There you go.
How are you?
I'm doing just great. How about yourself?
Good. You know, Angela, I read that you were a dancer, and I was a dancer growing up too. So did that have any sort of impact on your art career?
I miss dancing. That's the only thing I can tell you for now to begin with. But yeah, definitely, because some kind it goes together, because actually you're talking about rhythm and sound and painting and nature. So it's everything. It's combined. So yes, it is. And as a matter of fact, whenever I paint, I listen to all kinds of music, a mix of everything. So sometimes you will hear like a salsa or maybe ballet or opera, and then something from the 60s, from the 70s. It's all mixed. So yeah.
That's why Susanna started Vanguard Culture, to mix dancing and art and music and eating.
Yeah.
Well, definitely that's an art. Actually, cooking, because you will eat something that is very well cooked, as according to your taste, of course.
Absolutely.
So you've participated in over 100 exhibitions from Argentina to Italy, and that lends a lot of credibility to your work, to you and your work.
Thank you.
Are your pieces inspired by your travels?
Definitely. Sometimes you don't realize, everything that you see. It's not that you keep it in your mind, but eventually I come back, and if I, let's suppose that I went to Italy and it was rainy all the time. So I started painting with dull colors, and I said, why? This is not me, because it was raining. And I didn't do it on purpose. It just happened. I'm pretty sure you know that. It's like wearing clothes, right? So if you're cold, you don't get the brightest yellow shirt out of your closet, right? So it's just about the same.
And your pieces have so much detail and color and movement. So how long does it take you to create one piece?
I never know how to answer that one, because I'm gonna sound kind of crazy, but it just that all depends. Sometimes I'm so excited and start doing things and crazy things, and I say, oh, I got it. And then I leave it aside because it needs to get dry. It needs to dry. So next day I come back and I say, oh, I don't like it at all. So I will kind of fix it, but instead of fixing things, I think I make a mess. So I have to start all over again. So it's a story. I think it has to do with my own issues. I think the painting is all right. I'm the one that is kind of cuckoo. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. It's a difficult question, believe me.
Every piece is different. They all take their own.
Yes,
So
definitely.
the other day I asked you how you got inspired and things, and you told us a story about working in your garden. Why don't you rehash a little bit about that? I found that really interesting.
Well, actually two things happened when when the pandemic started. Since I didn't have anybody helping in my house, the gardener was not coming. The lady that used to come 3 or 4 times a week didn't come. And I said, I was all by myself. Somebody had to clean, somebody had to take care of everything. So I said, okay, well, I'm gonna start doing that. So when I was, gardening, watering the plants, I was looking at all these insects that I never paid attention, because we're always on the run, always. So I said, and I don't kill animals. I'm kind of, I respect, I'm not afraid of animals either. And so I starting to learn the behavior like a spider, Sometimes the spider, you find the spider web and it just felt that over here, said, oh my God, what's going on here? So I just took a broom and take destroy the web, not with a spider. And I did that in the same place. I did it 2 or 3 times. And the 4th time, the spider never put the web there anymore. You see how smart they are? I can tell you so many stories. So I said, okay, well, I think I'm gonna do. I think I have a project. So I embroidered on a piece of felt and those wooden. I don't know how do you call those round. How do you say that in English? I can't. Well, anyway, I started to embroider and putting an insect in there with the different designs, with colors and embroideries. Some of the pieces took me between 60 or 80 hours, just about this size. Because the embroidery, you have to go stitch going down, up and down. And you have to be very, very, very meticulous about it, because even though they're small, you can really see a mistake, honest to God. So that's what I call bichografias, which means the story of small insects.
That's what I was getting at. And embroidery is becoming very popular as an art form. Yeah.
I beg your pardon? I didn't hear.
Embroidery is becoming very popular recently as an art form and kind of a mixed media combined with other things. So you might have something there.
Yes, as a matter of fact, over here, if you see this little part here, see it? Well, actually, that's a piece of a fabric that I used to make the cover of a chair. So, as artists, we don't throw everything. We just, keep so many things. Right. And when I was cleaning, I found so many things. And I said, oh, those are treasures. So I didn't have to buy anything, nothing at all. I had everything here. So that's
the best.
Yes.
Well, Angela, I can't wait to see you again at Art San Diego and to see all of the creativity you've produced during the pandemic. Hopefully we'll be able to produce Art San Diego in October and we can say hello again in person. It's been nice visiting with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Linda, Eric, Kelly. It was my pleasure being here. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Hi, Laura.
Hey, I just wanted to thank everyone who's signing in on the chat. We've got people from Prague, the Czech Republic, Sean from San Diego, Julia from San Diego, and Lulia from Miami. Thank you guys. Keep telling us where you're from and ask any questions and just let us know you're here. It's awesome.
So our next artist is Shalane Grant from Calgary, Canada. Shalane is a abstract artist, and here she comes. Hi, Shalane.
Hi.
Hi.
There you go.
Perfect.
Am I unmuted? I don't want to be muted.
I'm glad because I didn't want to have to take another drink. No.
So Shalane, tell us about where you got the name Wall Candy Art.
Yeah, so Wall Candy started when my daughters were in elementary school, and I was on the fundraising committee for their school, and I decided that why don't I, because I'm an artist, why don't I do art with the students at the school? So I was thinking about the concept of the fundraiser and decided, hey, why don't I do a single piece with a classroom, a whole classroom? So I'd have like 20, 25 students working on a piece. And anyways, then my theory was that I'd have 20 to 25 parents bidding on it at the fundraiser. So, and in essence, you really had about 5. But anyways, so it went over really well and parents loved it. They loved the idea. And so I've been doing that for, well, quite a few years, about 16 years now, and have raised almost $500,000 for local Calgary schools. And I've had like pieces sell for $10,000 at the auction. So that's been really rewarding. And through that, I started teaching. And so I started my company called Wall Candy, because I thought that would be kind of a fun name to have students come and work with me. Yeah.
It is a fun name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the work is great. I know that you paint on the back of plexi and on the front of plexiglass. So tell us a little bit about the technique. And you can see a couple of the pieces behind you. You use bright colors. The work is super fun. But give us a little insight on how you create it.
Sure. Well, I wanted to have a medium that was different. So that was my first idea when I started working with plexiglass. It was fun to play with. So I started working with it and playing with it. And so I can, because it's clear, I can paint the front of the plexiglass. I can paint the back. I can etch into it. You can light it from behind. You can add the neon. I've been adding neon lately. You can do all kinds of different shapes. So I just really like the fun and the versatility of working with plexi. So anyways, it's just kind of stuck with me. I really like it.
Yeah. And I love that piece behind you with the neon. I think it's so fun and colorful and bright. And are you working on something similar with neon coming up?
Well, I really enjoyed doing that piece. So it's kind of inspired me to do more. So I've been working with getting some new pieces of neon. Like I've been designing the shapes and the style of the neon and the different colors. And so I'm hoping to have some pieces ready for the next show.
Awesome.
Some new pieces, yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. I would encourage the viewers to take a look at Shalane's booth page on RAVE. In fact, I think you really will.
I know, that's my favorite one.
That piece behind her with the neon was only $950. I'm like, this is not very expensive. It's a lot of art for, a very reasonable amount of money. I think your prices are really, really reasonable. So that's good. But you can always make more.
Always make more, for sure.
So last question is, how has the pandemic inspired you in any special way? I don't want to stump you here.
Well, what I find with creativity is that, when you can like shut things down and slow things down, the creativity just kind of pops in there. It just happens naturally. So I'll get an idea and I'll write it down, or I'll take a photo of something that reminds me of what I want to do or how I want to put it into my artwork. So I find that happens when, when I go on vacation or things like that, when the daily day-to-day grind of life slows down, creativity just goes bam, bam. So with the pandemic, boom, everything's shut down. So it's been great that way. I've been, having more time in my studio and more time with, finding creative things and so on. But, miss the human connection, of course. That's So I can't wait for a live show.
Yeah.
Us
Well,
too.
we'll be back to those soon, I hope. They say,
Yes.
at least here in the United States, they should be, everybody, 85% be vaccinated by September. So I'm hoping that holds true.
Yay. Yeah, well, we're hoping for that in Canada too.
Well, it's good to talk to you, Shalane. Say hi to Mike.
Okay, and thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
And our next artist, we're going to go to Texas, Dallas, and we're going to bring in Julia Ross. Go ahead and unmute us, Julia, and start your video. Here she comes.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Good.
Good to see you.
It's good to see y'all. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Yeah.
So, Julia, what have you been working on during the pandemic?
Well, we're curating a couple of galleries, started a women's site to promote the importance of women artists out there. So Art Gallery Inc. was established to promote women artists and their work. So
Yeah.
enjoying getting to curate a lot of them into galleries as well.
It's especially good timing during Women's History Month, right?
It is. No, it is good. But it's happened. It was launched in 2020, so it's been going on for a year now, and great things are happening. We're able to give back. Everything that we sell goes back to a charity. So
Yeah.
Ocean Conservancy has been a factor, but now we also have some things that happened in Texas with the freeze. So we're giving back to women's shelters that were displaced. So there's a lot of homeless women out there with children.
Very commendable. That's very nice. I know that. How big is the gallery you're in?
It's 10,000 square feet, Sky Pony in Dallas, and we curate 2,000 square feet is dedicated to our cause.
Yeah, that's a big gallery.
That is big.
It is, and it's great space. And Kiki and Doug Winters have been here for a while, and commendable artists in their own right. That's I'm always amazed at the amount of artwork that walks out of here. I'm just like, again, really, you're gonna sell that horse again? I need to learn how to draw horses. But no, it's nice. It's very nice of them, and they're great people. So
That's great. So your inspiration comes from meditation and nature, right?
it does. Yes, I think it's been nice to settle down with with the pandemic, of course, but that's where I draw my energy anyway. I extend the meditation, calming energy to my artwork. Meditate every morning and then extend that to the canvas. So it's that's something that's been beneficial, I think, to people in the pandemic. If something good came out of this, it's that people slow down, and we're able to really create from that. So.
And your work is very peaceful. It flows. It's great use of color.
Thank you.
Viewers, the viewers can certainly visit your booth, your exhibitor page, and see that. I mean, I know, even when we were in Miami together, you sold, even though I think you got sick, right?
It wasn't me. It
Oh,
was my daughter. It was my daughter.
That's
She
right.
came to join me, and she was sick. Poor thing. She was sick the whole time, and so sick that I couldn't leave her. It was disaster.
I remember, yeah.
It's horrible. But she's good now. She's in San Diego, actually. The San Diego Art Fair is the one that made her fall in love with that city. So she's now in Pacific Beach. So
It's a great city.
oh, it is.
Can't beat it.
It is, yeah.
You also have a mission to, which I think is terrific, that you along with us, or you're trying to help artists just besides your own self, selling your own paintings. And I think you mentioned to me that you try to sell at least one painting a month for each of your artists in the gallery. Is that right?
That's true. Yeah. And that's been my goal the whole time. I think when I know how it feels to sell a painting, you want to create, of course, you've got to get rid of all the stuff so you can create some more, you know. So it's great. It makes me feel good to be able to, you know, to know how that feels and to be able to share that with other artists.
Yeah.
And then of course, when we sell something, then it goes back to a good charity. So.
Right.
Yeah,
I think that's a really good goal.
it is. And how did your journey into painting begin?
You know, I was born to, my mother was a career artist and my sister's an artist, and I have poets and sculptors and all kinds of people that are creative. And I remember from, you know, so I think I was 3 years old when my mom was teaching us how to paint bluebonnets with palette knives, you know. My fondest memories truly are from, you know, with creative thoughts in mind. And I, you know, then went to the University of Texas and I studied dance. Actually, I was a dance major at UT, and carried that on into business with the arts, with going into advertising. And you know, I took the business route, so developed some skills in marketing, and it's nice to be able to take that full circle and be able to help other artists, you know, market their work as well as know how to market my own, you know. So
It's a good skill to have.
it is.
It is.
It is, yeah.
Well, Julia, it's good to see you again, and I can't wait to see you again in person at one of our events.
Oh yeah, no, I look forward to the live events, and you know, yeah, it's good to see both of you. And I think that you know, I think we all want to get back to it, so it'll be, you know, be great to do that again. Thank you so much for all the things that you're doing for artists out there. You know,
Yep.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, and thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take a look at Julia's page, everyone.
Mhm.
So where are we going next, Hannah?
Let's go to Phoenix.
Okay, where you went to school.
Where I went to school, yeah.
So our next artist is Marta Wiley. And Marta is now joining us. Are you off mute?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
We can, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
So the question of the night, what have you been doing during the pandemic?
Painting, right? So I think we were talking about this before the pandemic hit, and you know, it was scary, of course, but you know, everyone like in their own houses and doing their own things, and they're just like freaking out. I'm like, okay, this is how I feel all the time. Like, welcome to my world. You know, like artists are always in quarantine. We're always creating. So for me, it was just a little bit like, doesn't really faze me. I mean, it's tragic and it's shocking, but it's like, I think a lot of artists were just like diving into their own bliss. Like, oh, everything's quiet. All the deer, did you see those pictures of the deers that went into the cities? Like all the animals started going back into the cities.
Yeah.
It was a weird time.
Yeah,
There's a lot of good things that happened.
yeah, that happened in the national parks. The animals were actually coming down closer and closer to the lodges and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah.
It was so quiet. And so I think artists, I think most people of the world kind of felt that kind of quietude, maybe like the whole planet. So I thought, you know, this is a shift. It's tragic, it's traumatic, but it's also like an enlightenment, I think, you know. Like, how do you take tragedy and move it into a place of light?
So let's talk about your art for a minute. Like, if you could slide over a little and let everybody see that painting behind you, the flamenco dancer. Yeah. I mean, you can see that Marta's work has a lot of movement. You know, your figurative pieces are so well done, and they can see more pieces on your exhibitor booth. But so how do you capture all that movement? And then tell us about your parents. And did they paint also?
Well, you know, when I think I'm a like I love film. And so when I see, like when I visualize a painting, I'm actually visualizing a film in my head. So like I just do one painting and it's just like, I just try to capture the movement of like, let's say a dancer, right? And sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't. Like with this one here, I'm actually putting the Fibonacci sequence in my work again. And I used to do it when I was a little girl intuitively, and then you kind of get out of it. And I've been painting since I was 2, taught to paint by my grandmother. And so she taught me about the Fibonacci sequence. And she said, you know, this is what Leonardo da Vinci did and all of the greats. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it too. And it works, you know. Fibonacci is amazing. It's mathematically like it's a seashell, you know, like how it just creates harmony. And so it brings harmony into people's lives. So instead of just, you know, giving them a painting, you're giving them like consciousness too.
Yeah, that piece it's one of my favorites of yours, and you can see it behind you, but I do encourage the audience to go to your booth because it doesn't do it.
Move to get it done. Yeah.
And you're working on a publishing company, right?
So I've been painting since I was 2 years old. I started selling my work when I was 14. Everyone in my family was like, really? You're going to sell a painting, you know, and make a living at art? And I was like, yes. Right. And I just had this desire to do what I love. Right. And so I did it and I started painting for a living. And then I went to the shows and I photographed everything professionally, which was kind of pricey. And I've got thousands of like high res images now, you know, so I took the pandemic and I just started to gloss up and touch up all of these high res images. And I said, well, why don't I just launch the company, you know? And I've got all the connections. I've been doing the shows for, you know, 15 years. So I said, well, you know, go to the next level. Like, it's just like a no brainer. I mean, the work is there. So that's what I've been doing.
Yep.
Quarantine.
Right. Well, hopefully we get back to live events soon. I mean, you know, we're all looking forward to that.
I think the live events I love to talk to people. So when you go to a show that, you know, is Redwood, I love you guys because literally you talk to 1,000 people like in 5 days. And it's just such a high, you know, and you make so many connections and you meet people from all over the world. And it's really given me a lot of insight into different cultures and how to make a living as an artist. And it's people, as long as people are living in houses, they need artwork for those houses. I mean, it's a huge industry.
It's true.
You know?
And the housing market has been doing so well lately that there's going to be a lot of demand when we get back to live events for sure.
A lot of empty walls.
That's right.
I know. And the art industry is actually taking off because everyone's sitting in their houses looking at their walls, right?
Yep.
So it's one of those industries that never dies. It's just, it just, you know, all the artwork that I put out there, it has a, it doesn't depreciate. Art is like gold. It just gets more and more valuable. It's irrational.
Well, we love your work.
We do, yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you at our next event. And
thank you.
It's good talking to you, Marta.
Thank you so much.
Hope to see you.
Adios.
Have a good night.
So we're going to leave Phoenix and head out to Santa Fe and visit with Stephen Robeck. Stephen is a photographer from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hi, Stephen. Are you on mute? Yeah, you are. Uh-oh.
There we go. That did it.
There we go. How
Thank
are
you.
you?
My question is, how are you guys holding up?
We're
We're
good.
Been a long few days.
I know. Before we started tonight, I said to Linda and Laura and the team, I said, are you tired yet? It's like being on the last day of a live event or show, and you're ready to like pack. You still got to get through that move out, which takes 4 or 5, well, for some of us, 2 or 3 hours.
You can open a second bottle of Pommery.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go.
So Stephen, what got you interested in photography? We know you began photographing images at such a young age.
Well, I don't really know how it happened. I remember being about 10 years old and having a little brownie camera and taking pictures and developing the negatives in a little tiny dark room and making little contact prints about that big. And I don't really know how it happened, but it's cameras and the idea of photography basically stayed with me through, a long life, a business career, all kinds of things. So it's what I love to do. So I do it.
I'm sure you got a little inspiration from your dad who worked for Time magazine, right?
Well, Time Incorporated, he was actually the first US distributor for the BBC in America at Time Inc., but for some reason, he brought home monographs, books about photographers, many of them Time Life photographers, Life magazine photographers. So I was exposed to all that stuff. And I think a lot of it interested me. And I think a lot of it stuck in terms of learning about what makes a good photograph.
Mm-hmm. How do you get your motivation?
Well, when you go, everywhere you go, if you have a camera with you, there are things that just confront you that you see and you say, oh, that's interesting. And you take a few frames. Sometimes you have an idea of something you want to explore. And so I do that too. But the net of it is the work that gets finished turns out to be the work that appeals to me, that I think is interesting. Because if I don't, then I go, and I don't work on it. And so that probably means that most of my work has an attribute of peacefulness, of quiet, of relaxation, because that's what I like in photographs.
Yeah.
I suppose that, there's somewhere in there's a social or political aspect, but really what I love to do is find ways to reveal things about the natural world that people wouldn't otherwise see.
Yeah, and most of your work is based in nature. So I imagine you do either a lot of hiking or a lot of traveling. Well,
the serious work with photography really began through many years as a backpacker, particularly in the Sierras, the Rockies, and other places. Other times, we've traveled around the world, but tourist locations, to my mind, are not often, the greatest source for interesting images. It's fun to take pictures of other people in tourist locations, but that's not typically what I finish and show.
Yeah, and your work is well finished, in meaning it's well constructed. I mean, there's a lot more to creating it's not just snap and shoot and then send it to somebody and have it digitally printed, right? I mean,
right.
The framing you're using and the process, there's a lot of work that goes into that. And
when I started exhibiting in galleries, my first photographs was a series of black and white botanicals, and they were framed in classic black gallery frames with a 4-inch white mat and behind glass, and they looked very good. But the reflections bothered me, and frankly, the mats bothered me. So I began to think about how could I not use glass and not bother with the mats that just make the image smaller relative to the frame. So over time, I developed the technique that I use now, which basically does not require glass. It starts with a print. You've seen, this is an image that's in the gallery. But you can see how the image literally floats inside the maple frame.
Yep.
Right? And so I start with a fine art print. And then the first thing that happens is the print gets coated with 3 coats of a water-based polymer. And I have a sample that I think you can see this. But you see one side is sort of gray. This side is sort of dull and lifeless.
Yeah.
The other side has much more contrast, much more color. So the side by my hand has had the coating put on. And so it really brings the images to light.
Yeah, it does.
And then the print gets laminated to mat board. The mat board gets laminated to a slightly smaller piece of gator foam, and then all of that gets mounted into the frame. So here's another smaller image. And here you can see the back, how it's all mounted. And here you can see how all the layers are actually stacked together.
Yeah, it's a lot of.
It's a lot of work, but one of my goals was I wanted a process that I could do myself. I've got a lovely studio, I've got time, and so I really enjoy taking an image from the camera, through the computer, through the printer, and then into the final finishing process to where it's ready to hang.
Well, they're beautiful images, and the viewers can see a lot more of your work on our site and get in touch with you directly. I can't wait to get back to Santa Fe.
Oh, I can't wait either. That's where we got introduced, and it's now seeming like a long time ago, but 2019. But I'll be here when you're here, I promise.
All right, Stephen. Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.
You too. Have a good night.
So we're going to leave Santa Fe and go back to Santa Fe.
We're going to stay in Santa Fe.
Our next and last 2 artists who they're together tonight are Julie Schumer and James, coming to us from Santa Fe, New Mexico. Hi, Julie and James. Are you off mute?
Hello, we're here.
Hey, guys.
You're professional.
And we wonder how far we're away from Stephen, the photographer. We don't know him. We've never met him.
You guys have to meet up for sure.
Definitely, definitely.
So we talked in December during the Miami RAVE event, and I remember when we were talking the other day, you guys have sold 7 or 8 pieces since then. So that's absolutely outstanding.
Yeah, it was about a dozen, I think, since we last convened up to the present, which is terrific. We're thrilled to death about that. They just seem to come out of nowhere when you least expect it.
Why don't you guys you have 2 great pieces behind you. Why don't you separate for a minute and just let the audience, take a look at them. Oh, they're super. So to let the audience know, Julie's pieces are more abstract and James more figurative, but their uses of color, you guys can come back in here. And they create some large pieces, and your work has just progressed so well over the last, 3-4 years. It's been
thank you.
You develop.
We've been able to put a lot more time into it. So, that's what it takes. If you put the time in, you will get, really much better. And certainly we've had plenty of time in the last year to do that, as well as before.
Yeah. Are people visiting Santa Fe at all?
Not that much. We haven't really seen that many people when we're downtown. There's not that many people on Canyon Road. It's kind of sad. But I did read that Meow Wolf, which is right near our studio, which is a big attraction here, is going to reopen on March 19th. So that's going to probably start bringing people back, to see their interesting exhibit that they've got. And they've kind of reformatted it so it's, much safer. It's a no touch kind of a deal, and they'll have limited entry. So that'll start, people coming back, I think.
We haven't entirely been sequestered though, because when the COVID started, our dealer quit right about that same time. So we kind of decided, what are we going to do, So we started this sort of idea that we were going to give art away to all these businesses that we knew in Santa Fe that were struggling or might be struggling.
Right.
So I've kind of been on this adventure for the last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've given away like 35 to 40 paintings to businesses. And Santa Fe is a village, and we've been so supported in everything we've done here. We did my play, Standing Room Only. Julie and I made a movie, Turn Away Crowds. We just know so many people that we decided we were going to give art away. That's what we could give. And so we've given a lot away, our art away. And I'd say indiscriminately, we haven't sat down and go, well, let's give away our worst art. We've actually given away, pretty much everything we liked, and I actually should have made a film about the reaction that people have, how positive it's been. And a lot of people put it up in their coffee shops, restaurants. And so that's been our contribution to our little village.
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. In Santa Fe is like that. I mean, we spend, I'm usually there. Kelly and I go, I don't know, 3-4 times a year, because we're there doing a little business before we go and stuff. And we can drive. It's 11 hours from here. It's not that difficult. But, I mean, even when you go to restaurants, they have those community tables and people are sitting together. And you know, one thing you can totally tell the locals from the visitors. It's almost like going to Hawaii. You can completely tell who's local and who's visiting.
It is a little tribal village, and you do get to know. If you go out, you know everybody. You know your servers, your chefs, your owners. When we did our movie, this restaurant owner and the chef brought all his waiters and waitresses to our film. That's just amazing. And so now every time we go in to eat, it's like, well, when are you guys going to do another movie, and
which we're not.
Which we're not. But it's on that level of intimacy here, and that's actually a wonderful thing, and it's Santa Fe's been a big support to us completely.
That's a great story. And I'm sure the viewers are loving that. You're tugging at the heartstrings of everyone a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. Well, just the other day, a guy that does some photography for us, he was really nice, and he came with his van, and he took some really large pieces to his place to photograph that we couldn't get in either of our cars. And so James handed him a little portrait, just as he walked out the door.
I've known him for like 20 years. He's a local, well-known photographer, and it's very rewarding. And you know what? I mean, the more we gave away, the more we sold. And we've had nothing but prosperity since COVID started, and so it's kind of an interesting, way to do.
Yeah.
It is. And I'm sure people, they'll see your pieces all over Santa Fe and they'll feel left out when they don't have one. Right.
The FOMO, the fear of missing.
Yeah, well, we can't wait to have Art Santa Fe again. We're really missing the planning, the preparation, and figuring out our booth walls and all that.
Yeah, we want to come back to the opening so bad, because like all artists, we want to sell things, but meeting people, that many people, and having that interaction and positivity, that's like a soul thing, that you just can't get sitting in your studio. And there's nothing like having one of your pieces up and, having Many. I would
Many
say
people
even
see it.
100 people come up and see your work, you know, and even if they don't buy it, we never feel bad when we leave the shows. We always feel invigorated. We always feel like it was a good investment, you know.
Right.
And so
we're exhausted, but it's invigorating.
It
anyway,
is very.
Well, I can't wait to see all your new work when we do get together. And you guys have always been special exhibitors and done a great job with us. So
well, thank you. It's fun. We just love it. You know, it's so different than from what I used to do for a living that it's really invigorated me in this later part of my life in a way that I just love.
And I definitely want to encourage the viewers to take a look at your booth page because, you know, your work has developed so well. And I love both of those pieces behind you. And you're going to say something? Hannah?
I just love your guys' work so much. And
thank you.
Individually is beautiful, but then together it's equally as beautiful. So,
you know, we paint them side by side. So it's no surprise that they kind of go together and that we wind up working in a similar palette on a similar day. You know, with each one criticizing the other or complimenting the other, but the work always goes together.
It's a good thing we both have strong egos and very thick skin, you know, because it gets pretty ruthless in here.
It does.
And we don't like, you know what, we don't like to let anything out that we don't think is really is great, you know, and so we sort of have like this system where we set things up, and then if it doesn't work out, the other person will tell them, and then we usually go back and do it over. But that's just part of our process, you know, the collaboration.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you're a good team.
You are.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. It's great to talk with you.
Yeah,
guys
thank
again.
you guys, and we hope to see you soon at
Art
San Diego in October.
Yeah, wonderful. We look forward to it.
All right.
Us too.
Yeah.
Take care.
Bye now.
Bye.
So be sure to check out all the amazing artwork from today's artists from our RAVE exhibitors, and, you know, from innovative galleries to top independent artists, we have it all. So book a personal appointment with them, reach out to them, let them know your favorite piece that you saw, or, you know, getting to learn about them throughout the last 3 days. So the booth pages will also remain on our website throughout the entire month of March, and we'll be continuing to share their work on social media so you guys can see all the incredible pieces there are. And that's a wrap. It's been great being with you guys for the last 3 days, and we hope you had equally as much fun as we did hearing and learning and seeing these incredible artists and learning about their inspirations, their journeys, and exploring their studios.
So we'll be back with another RAVE event next month. So watch the website and sign up, subscribe if you haven't, and check out our social media for details. It'll be April 22nd to the 24th, and we're going to focus on the New York City area. We invite everybody to watch, but we focus on New York with some of the content. We'll see you then. Thanks for joining us, and make sure you stick around and watch the De La Torre interview. These two artists are absolutely terrific and very, very well known. It's worth it. You're going to love hearing. They're so sought after, and their iconic work is, the way they create it is mind blowing. So let's roll it, Laura. We'll see you in a month.
As a part of our Art Shop Talk series, Vanguard Culture Board member and independent curator Kaya Sri had the opportunity to visit Einar and Jamex de la Torre's new art studio in the beautiful Valle de Guadalupe Valley in Baja California, Mexico. This region is known for its exceptional wine production and culinary arts that rival some of the best in the Mediterranean and around the world.
Hi, we're the De La Torre brothers. I'm Einar. Hi, everybody. A virtual welcome for our new studio. I'm Jamex, and we are in the Valle de Guadalupe. It's our new studio. We haven't opened it officially because of COVID to the public, but here you're having a virtual tour. Come on in. So we wanted to make the studio sort of commune with the tree, kind of like a cathedral for art, of course. And here's where we make our mixed media work. This, for instance, is a chalk mold done with glass in two parts. The head one part, the body is another, and the base is cast resin that will be polished absolutely transparent when we're finished. So long glass pieces that we make ourselves. We just now started making long glass here in the studio in a smaller scale. We also have this content or found objects that we have all over the studio because we use them over the years. Sometimes they get stuck and we use them years later, but we have stores of them. This is probably a perfume bottle, Avon maybe. So we combine our glass work with these objects that I like to say, instead of found objects, that we seek and look for specific things that really talk to us in terms of our usage of mixed media, including this little giving. It was a little coin offering from a church. Here's another long glass figure, little dog with an attached head. The head comes from his torso that Einar found in the flea market. He decapitated it, and we are working on it to create a new mixed media piece. So the head in this one is blown glass, while the head from this one ended up on this little animal spirit or tonali, and with a wonderful little sort of Day of the Dead face. So the animal spirit also goes to the underworld. So you can see on the tables, we have lots of materials that we have collected, material culture, as it were. It is the stuff that the culture produces and consumes. Sometimes we even use glass parts that are cast. This is a cast glass part that has very little bit of hand work on it from factories, maybe Old Libby factory in the United States, or Fenton are some of the names. And lately we've been making a lot of lenticular work. Lenticular work, to show you one pattern. As you can see, it's a thin panel. The print is completely flat. But lenticular means there's a lens in front that has small lines that act as a parallax blocker, meaning you see one image or then you see the other. Very difficult to photograph because you need stereo vision and movement to judge depth. So with a camera, you can see some of the movement that happens as you move. You can see one image or the other.
Has COVID changed your perception of things or inspired new works that wouldn't have happened otherwise?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I think that an artist works, alone, or in our case, collaboratively. But you're working in your studio alone. You're not working in a cubicle with a bunch of other people. So a lot of the process of artwork hasn't changed at all. What has changed, of course, is the social, communication with friends and the closeness of that. It affects us just as much as everybody else, but our working pattern itself is actually, I don't think most artists have changed very much. They're, unless your work is social, like glass blowing is a good example. You're sharing glass blowing pipes with people, and of course now there's all this protocol of using all kinds of systems to not expose each other to something that your lips are touching. But other than that, in our studio and mixed media, we're working just as much and just as hard as ever.
But COVID does bring to face the fragility of a moment. And we artists are always trying to look into that, be it obliquely through reflection. But COVID is a little bit more in your face. So So in a sense, it makes us question a little bit harder on what we do or what we attempt to do. And we have to be ready with those answers, which I don't really have right now.
So how did you first get involved with glasswork, or why glass?
Why glass? To us, I think we're sculptors before we're vessel makers. And glass is the single most spontaneous sculpting medium that there is. That's why.
Yeah. So this is Einar. I think we love the what my brother's talking about, the spontaneity. If you're in the hot seat, so to speak, making work, there's a hot furnace that's 1800 degrees, and there's a crew of people helping you. You can't stop. You have to plow forward. So you shoot from the hip, and you're using drawings and you're communicating the best you can. But there's an immediacy to getting the work done because it's costing. It's a big footprint when it comes to carbon. So you don't want to mess around too much. You really need to get the work done. And we love the fact that there is this pressure to get the idea out.
Blowing glass is sort of like a watercoloring. You cannot paint over what you have done. So in a way, spontaneity is forced upon you. You have to deal with it. And your decisions are pretty much final.
So this is a project that we're doing for Sacramento.
So this has been the flames of a rocket, kind of like a 1960s toy rocket. It's going to be about 25 feet high for the Sacramento Convention Center. So this is just a model of the flames to be produced in bronze.
And this is a tiny scale of it, kind of like a tree, a uprooted tree kind of feeling. It's a very Baroque fire coming out of this rocket. And here's a series of molds that he's pressing into to get the Baroque textures.
What do you want people to take away from experiencing your work?
I think as an artist, that's a tough one because we work so hard to remove ourselves to worry about that. Because we want to be as free as possible to do what we need to do. So worrying about how people would take it is it's not an easy one to answer, but yet we do worry. We do worry about how people perceive our work and what they take from our work.
It's a hard job to consider everybody's point of view, but at the same time, it's the artist to try, because the artist should try to consider all of the possible readings. But the beauty is that the most important reading is the one that the artist hasn't considered, meaning that as much as you try, you still are going to have new-found ideas that you never even imagined. So I always like to answer the question, why exhibit your artwork, is so that I believe that the answer to that is so that we can understand what we have made. Because through all of our consideration, it's still up to the real jury is the people, the art viewer. And listening to what they think about your art becomes part of the plethora of considerations for your work in the future, and it informs you. And indeed, it's the most important information, because you learn about what you made through people's reactions.
We don't want to be tied down to the fascism of having to say something per se, because I think art needs to be free. I mean, completely free. And art doesn't care. If you have an idea or an idealism about anything, art doesn't care. And you have to be above that and be free. In a way, that's our job, to reflect what our reality is. And in doing so, you can't be going around saying this is right or this is wrong. You have to reflect and say, I'm part of this. we do want to be part of, I mean, I guess inevitably we are part of the time we live in. We are conscious that when you do political art, there is political art that can live through the ages, and there's political art that is very much marked by the specific moment you're living. And we've done both, and we really want to have politics be a broader brush so that at least it can talk to things that may be broader spectrum than the 5-10 years that you're living at the very moment.
I think art is, we think that art is a relatively poor messenger of change, but it is a really good reflective tool. It has reflected society as it is over the ages rather well, and I think that is the potential for art, is to give us a tool for introspection.
And indeed, because it is a reflection, it's a responsibility. There is a responsibility, I think, to an artist to be part of the times that you're living, and I don't think that should be taken lightly. But at the same time, it's inextricable. You can only talk about your experience in your life and your immediate circumstances. So you cannot. I mean, there is work that, of course, is ahead of its time, but only within the context of its time. Otherwise, it wouldn't be ahead of anything.
This piece is called Feminencia, or Feminines. It has an image of Terra, which is a Buddhist female deity, and then switching to Leopold from the history of Belgium. We like the way he looks nervous with all the female attention. It's about the power, the feminine power, and why some men feel threatened by it.
How do you feel about the meaning you put into a piece and what people get out of it?
You know, there's two answers to that one, because generally speaking, the viewing public can do whatever the hell they want to do with your piece, and that is completely all right, and you might even learn from it. But when another viewing public, mainly be a curator, makes an assumption about your work that you didn't intend to, then it's kind of problematic. But essentially and fundamentally, you want the piece to have its own life, and if it contradicts what you were trying to say, well, you have to learn to accept that.
So when you exhibit in different countries, you're going to have different contextualizations of your work, because we assume that everybody knows the same stories you do, but the truth is that is a big part of where we are, has to do with the stories of the area we live in. For instance, if we talk about the Virgen de Guadalupe, of course, all of Mexico knows what that means very well, and the border states with the United States know what that means pretty good. And as you go further north in the United States, it's less known. So I think it is part of the job of the artist and also of the institution that is exhibiting to understand that some people may not know some of these stories that well, because now we're showing it in Bavaria or in the Czech Republic, and you need to therefore contextualize some of the imagery because it's very foreign to them. Mind you, again, the artwork should exist alone, but the readings of it will be very wildly different if they don't have any context to the imagery you're using. I don't think there's anything wrong with artwork being seen without that, but it is what it is. It is artwork being seen without the context of what it could be seen is in the original culture or cultures that perceive that to be a certain icon or deity. And I think that any time that you use deities and icons of another culture, then you have to be careful that you're using it in the appropriate way, because you can be corrected if you're using it in a storytelling that is abrasive or even counter to the original meaning.
This year we will be exhibiting at La Caja in Tijuana, the Galería La Caja, and that will be in May, I believe. Teaching in Penland, if everything goes well with COVID, and so on. Last Mixed Media workshop, 2-week workshop in June. And in the end of the year, we will open the first ever Smithsonian Latino Center exhibition at the Cheech Center, which will also be a grand opening of the Cheech. I believe is late this year, if not early next year, and that's in Riverside, California. It's affiliated with the Riverside Art Museum. That will be, I believe, again, probably early next year. We will also be showing our European tour will be going now to the Museum of Glass in Marina Grande in Portugal at the end of the year 21.
It's nice to have, in-house, we have each other to go over these ideas so we know when we're maybe doing something that seems to be worthy of more exploration, or something that's just quite honestly frivolous. And it's a creative process is always on the edge of this precipice of being ridiculous or superfluous, but the beautiful thing lies there in this fine line.
Thank you again for supporting the arts. We'll see you at the next Art Shop Talk.